My name is Wanda Small, and I'm a 2018 Kansas Foundation for Agriculture of the Classroom teacher winner. I teach kindergarten through 6th grade STEAM classes in Effingham, Kansas. Today, I would like to tell you about edible soil. And my students love to do hands-on, so this is a perfect lesson for you as well. So what you will need is vanilla wafers, which will be for the bedrock of the soil. You will need parent material, which is marshmallows. Toasted oats will be the subsoil in this recipe. Topsoil is chocolate puffs. The organic matter is M&Ms. And soil has to have decomposers, and those are gummy worms this time for this recipe. So if I were teaching this lesson, I would start out something like this. Do you know what time it is? It's time to learn about soil, edible soil, boys and girls. And then I would go ahead and I would bring in the 5 factors that contribute to the formation of soil. And they are bedrock, climate, topography, living organisms, and you guessed it, time. So bedrock, and I would go ahead and I would talk about what each of these mean, is that solid rock layer, that exposed and it breaks down in a process called weathering. And then I would talk about 2, the climate, which refers to the average weather conditions such as rainfall, temperature, and wind speed, and how all of these affect the breaking down, and then it moves and it locates itself into what is soil. The third one is topography, which is the slope of the land. And I would talk about how these particles go downhill and they finally settle into a more level surface and where they form deeper soil layers. And then living organisms like plants, animals, people, even those little tiny microorganisms also help form new soils by mixing the soil layers up. And when they dig in the soil, they move it from one place to another. And of course, we can't forget about time, because over time, soil changes. It can either be rapid or slow, depending upon the interaction of these 5 different factors: climate, topography, living organisms, bedrock, and time. And then I would go into my lesson about how the soil profile is made up. And so I've just created a little chart, but you have this in your lessons as well. When you get into the Kansas Foundation for Ag lessons, you will find that you will see worksheets that you can hand the kids on this. And you notice the bedrock is at the bottom, and then we have the parent material, subsoil, and topsoil. And I would, as I'm teaching this, I would talk about the parent material being, of course, the deepest layer of soil. And then how it is made, and it's, was once part of bedrock that broke off, and then it moved up into the parent material. And it does have some of the rocks and things like that with it. And the thickness and the quality of each type of soil depends upon the location that it's in. But soils can be carried from one place to another through wind and water and gravity and ice. And kids need to know that. That's part of that science. And then I would talk about the subsoil. And the subsoil covers the layer of parent material down here and contains finer particles than the parent material, along with a few smaller rocks. And the subsoil layer also includes organic matter that is found in the topsoil even. Some plants like alfalfa and sunflowers and soybeans, they send their roots deep down into this area of the subsoil. And that way they can get their nutrients and water from that area. So, and then I would go on to talk about, of course, the topsoil. And the topsoil is the uppermost, most productive part of the soil in the top layer, and it contains more organic matter than any other type of soil. Plants with shallow roots like wheat and grain sorghum and even corn depend upon that topsoil to get their nutrients and water. And Topsoil is the layer that's most impacted by rainfall, temperature, and wind speed. And I would wrap this lesson up with the kids making, of course, edible topsoil. And the first thing you'd need to have them do is to wash their hands with soap and water. Then you would give them a clear plastic cup. The first thing they would do is they would take two vanilla wafers and put at the bottom of their cup for the bedrock. So each of these items are going to represent things that you would find in the real soil. They're going to love this lesson. And of course, teachers love it too. Then you're going to have 1/4 cup of the parent material, which is the marshmallows. The subsoil is 1/4 cup of toasted oats. So you're going to add that in. And of course, the kids can see the layers as they start to form here. And then the topsoil is 2 tablespoons full of chocolate Cocoa Puffs. And you notice how dark and rich that is. It's full of all those nutrients that plants need. And then you can add 1 or 2, depending upon your liking, of organic matter, which is the M&Ms. And then finally, you would top it off with some decomposers. Soil is full of decomposers, and our worms today happen to be those gummy worms. So the kids are really going to enjoy this. This is what the final product looks like. You can definitely see the layers, and the kids are going to love the hands-on lesson with this. So you know what time it is now? It's time to eat our soil.